The learning objective in maths today is to multiply or times unit and non-unit fractions. So let's tune in to that learning objective and unpick what it means. Okay, so what do you think a unit fraction is? Think carefully. A unit fraction is a fraction that has the numerator is the value of 1. So for example, I could write the fractions 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, or 1/5, okay? All of those fractions there are unit fractions because the numerator has the value of 1, okay? And the numerator is the top number. So what do you think a non-unit fraction is then? It is the opposite, really. So any fraction that has a numerator greater than 1 is a non-unit fraction, okay? So for example, 4/5. Can you think of any more examples? Think carefully in your head. 3/5, 2/3. All of these fractions, I'm sure you can think of a lot more, are non-unit fractions because the numerator, the top number, is greater than 1. So today, you're going to be using your skills to multiply and times together unit fractions and non-unit fractions. So let's look at our steps to success today. So the first thing we need to focus on to be successful, the first thing we do is when we have two fractions in a multiplication sum, so 1/2 multiplied by 1/3, to be successful, the first thing you need to do is multiply the numerators. Now we know the numerator is the top number. So in this, you would do 1 times 1. 1 lot of 1 is 1. Okay, so that means the numerator would stay as 1. Next, to be successful, you need to multiply both denominators together. Now the denominator is the bottom number in the fraction. So 2 multiplied by 3. 2 lots of 3, I know, is 6. So underneath my denominator, I will put 6. So that means 1/2 times 1/3 equals 1/6. Okay. Now to challenge yourself, if some of you choose the spicy challenges, you will have fractions that the answer is a very large number. It's a large fraction, okay? So you will need to stretch yourself and simplify or cancel down those fractions, okay? Just like we've done in our previous learning. So let's look at an example and follow our steps to success. So here we have the question, 2/3 multiplied by 3/4, okay? So the first thing we need to do is multiply the numerators. If we look at the top numbers here, 2 times 3, 2 lots of 3 is 6. Okay, so that means the numerator for the answer is going to be 6. Next thing we need to do is multiply the denominators, the bottom numbers. So I'd write in my number sentence 3 times 4. I know 3 lots of 4 is 12. So that means my denominator is 12. So the answer there is 6/12. That is correct, okay? So that's the first thing. If you choose the mile challenge, that's what you would need to do to be successful. If you want to push yourself further, then you can write the answer in its simplest form. We know 6/12 isn't probably the lowest way to write that fraction. So what we need to do is we need to convert it into an equivalent fraction, okay? And 6 is half of 12. So I know that 6/12 is the same as 1/2. So that would be simplifying the fraction down into its lowest form, okay? So we've looked at simplifying fractions before, haven't we? And we know that some fractions are equivalent, like 4/8 is the same as 2/4, and that is the same as 1/2, okay? It's still the same amount of pizza on each plate, but the fraction is just different, okay? So if you want to extend yourself and only listen to this if you're moving on to the spicy or hot challenge, okay, when you're simplifying fractions to get your answer, we divide the numerator and denominator by the highest common factor in the number. So this is the highest number that will go into both numbers. Let's look at an example. So if you multiply a fraction, you times the numerators and times the denominators, and you have the answer 8/12. You all know that 8/12 is is not the simplest way to write that fraction. So if we look at these numbers 8 and 12, we need to find out what's the highest common factor that goes into 8 and 12. Okay, what's the highest common multiple that fits into 8 and it also fits into 12? So this number is 4. Okay, 4 is the greatest common factor. Okay, because I know that 4 is a multiple, 8 is a multiple of 4, and so is 12. So I would need to divide 8 by 4. Okay, divide the top number by 4, which 8 divided by 4 is 2. Whatever I divide the numerator by, I must divide the denominator by as well. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. So that means 8/12 is the same as 2/3. Okay, that would be writing it in its simplest form. Don't worry if you're finding this a little bit tricky. Just focus on multiplying the fractions together. But first multiply the numerator, then multiply the denominator. Okay, only if you want to stretch yourself in your learning, then move on to simplifying it down. It is tricky, but you'll be stretching yourself. Try your best and message me if you need any help. Good luck.